Hey guys, welcome back. My name is Gabrielle and today I had like 3 ideas in mind for a video and spooky. My lash curler just like fell. I had like 3 ideas in mind for a video and I think the one I'm gonna do today is I'm going to react to a Vogue article. I saw this article, actually I was Googling something. You know how when you have the Google app, there's like cards so that you could like see, I guess, articles of either what's trending or stuff related to what you search, or it's your FBI agent listening to you. I got this article just like recommended to me. It's called The Best Eyeshadows. Does this have like 2 titles? It's called 33 of the best eyeshadow palettes to try in 2021. And then when you click on it, it says the Beist. I'm Adele. Oh my god. I'm sorry. The best eyeshadow palettes for a bright, sparkling holiday season. So I don't know if these are supposed to be like for holiday or just in general. Also, these palettes were not all released this year. Some of them are a little older, but I guess they're still available. At least I'm assuming, since they are in this article. Lovely photo, by the way. I really like this picture here of like the sea foamy green and then the block, color block, like clothes. It's cool. Oh, they have like a different categories. Okay. Yeah, I kind of am going in blind. I saw a few of the palettes and then I decided, okay, I'll make this a video. So yeah, I'm going in just a little blind. If you are interested in watching me possibly roast what Vogue thinks are the best eyeshadow palettes for numerous reasons in 2021, then stay tuned and subscribe. I'm like Claire Saffitz because she's like, I don't like to say like and subscribe, and like neither do I. I forgot to mention that Smoky Glow has done a video like this where she reacted to an article saying like this is the best makeup or something. I don't know if it was like of the year or like whatever, but I'll link it in the description because I think having that video in my brain archives kind of inspired me to do this. So these palettes are specifically for holiday glam. We're in the for holiday glam category. The Dior Backstage Eye Palettes. It is $49 for 9 shades. This is very light. When I think of holiday, I do think of red. I do think of green, and not like grass green. I think of like really deep greens, like what, pine trees. I don't know what trees are, but like those kinds of tones. So this is like very neutral, cool neutral with like a random beige. Yeah, okay. I feel like this is like a new makeup releases kind of video. This palette looks to be shimmer heavy. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. Shimmers are good for the holiday. Sure. I guess. I don't know. Are Dior's eyeshadows good? They have beautiful packaging, beautiful embossing, but yeah, I don't know if they're actually good. How are their shimmers? Are their shimmers like this? Okay, next up is the Hourglass Monstrosity. Hourglass released this earlier this year. This is the curated 5-pan palette. Is that what it's called? Like, I'm assuming that's what it's called because it's in this fucking article, Gabrielle. You could either get 1 eyeshadow or 3 or 5. And you pick the ones you want and you get them in this palette. I think 1 was like 30 something. 3 was like 90 or 99. And then 5 is 161. And it's like, just punch me in the face. Just punch me in the fucking throat. Like, that is an insane price. And this isn't even like, oh, but it's luxury. Oh, but this and that. This is 5. Count them, 5 eyeshadows for 160. That is, no, that is entirely too much. That is just like, you are out of your mind. Pat McGrath's palettes have 10 shades for $125, which is still a lot of money. Natasha Denona has 15 shades for like $129. But Pat McGrath and Natasha Denona, they have really like made a name for themselves when it comes to their eyeshadow quality. Pat McGrath obviously more so with her shimmers, they're fucking beautiful. And Natasha Denona, she has a really easy matte formula. I really like her formula. But this is just like, this is probably the first eyeshadows that Hourglass ever came out with, at least to my knowledge. I don't know their entire archive, but like indie shadows can be expensive. but they're not this expensive. Like if you get a multi-chrome, duochromes, like I don't know how these perform. I'll say that now. I don't know how these perform. I haven't heard a single soul talk about it. Because I think that they're probably just like, what? No, I'm not even paying for that for review. Like, suck my ass, you know? I don't know how these perform. I don't know if they're good, but I just, it's not worth it. Even if they are good, that's a lot. This is a whole bill right here. The next palette is Milani Gilded Nude. So I will say that I like that this article is doing all kinds of prices, because when I first see Dior and Hourglass, I'm like, oh, are these all like the bougie stuff? But no, they got a mix. So this is also a palette that I've never heard of, and I've never ever tried Milani's eyeshadows. If anything, like, I feel like they're mostly known for like complexion, right? I feel like this color story, I could see why it's appealing. This does remind me of Modern Renaissance, not entirely, definitely not entirely, but it has like those mauvey pinky tones, and it has that red right there and some neutrals. The shimmers are definitely different. Those are not Modern Renaissance, but it kind of has a similar vibe. You know, the article isn't really giving much description of the palettes. The only description they have is of the Dior palette, and it just says other palettes worth adding to your rotation: Milani's Gilded Nude and the Hourglass one. I'm assuming that Vogue is saying these are really good formulas. I'm going to assume that. But I could see why people would buy the Milani palette, especially if you're new to makeup and maybe like you see this in the Walgreens or the Ulta and you're like, oh, cool. Like, it's 20 bucks. This next category is called the For Supercharged Color. There's a makeup artist named Michael Anthony who's worked with stars like Ariana Grande and Paris Hilton, says he loves the Nikkie Tutorials and Beauty Bay palette. I have heard a lot of bad things about this palette, but I will say the bad things that I heard about this palette were the mattes. Everyone that didn't like it and said they don't like the mattes love the shimmers. They said the shimmers are really nice, but that don't buy it just for the shimmers. I almost wish that there was like just a shimmer version of this palette, because I would definitely like get on that. But like, I remember when this came out and I was just like, oh, I don't know, like, I don't know if this is really for me, because I mean, I think it's pretty, I think it's nice to look at, but even now I'm pretty sure it's still available, but I'm just not like, oh, let me go grab that. Like, and it's 30 bucks, so it's not like outrageously priced. But yeah, I'm just like, okay, how many times do I say that about makeup in general, where like, oh, I'm just like, okay. Something about this palette that kind of confuses me is that I did kind of feel like it was a little bit out of nowhere. Like, I was kind of like, oh, I mean, I could have completely forgotten when she used Beauty Bay in her videos, but I was like, Beauty Bay. There's a shade in here called Pride, right? And it's a pink to blue duochrome, because obviously early last year she came out as trans. She came out in January, and this palette, I believe this palette came out in August last year off the top of my head. And so I'm like, how long does it take to make an eyeshadow palette? Because usually when influencers come out with collabs, makeup collabs, they're like, I worked on this for 10 years. I worked on this, and if you look really closely you could see my blood in there, and and yeah, this came just a few months after she came out. So I was just like, oh, did you make this in a hurry? Like, I'm genuinely like, how long did this take you to make? Because there's the Pride shade in there. That was just like a question that I had, because yeah, I feel like people usually put a little more time into their collabs. And not to say that like she just threw this together in 10 minutes, but I'm just curious. It's just something that I noticed. Okay, let's move on. Anastasia Norvina Pro Pigment Palette Volume 2. This palette's expensive, it's $60, and those three blues on the second row look identical, and so do the greens. I remember wanting these palettes for a hot minute, but then I was like, no. Like, they're just like, okay. I guess I like that there's kind of a theme here with blue and green, but then they just look identical, and then it makes the other colors, you know what, even the other colors that are a little out of place, they also seem like duplicate shades, like the pinks and the yellows. Yeah, this is just a repetitive palette. I've heard that the quality of the Norvina palettes is not the same as the ABH. There's different formulas, and the ABH formula is really good. But yeah, I guess I just don't really feel anything towards this palette. I'm just like, alright. Like, I guess it's a good thing that she has minis, but I'm just not really interested. But Juvia's Place Zulu. Oh, it's on sale. It's on sale for $12. This is cute. This is very summery. This is very Halloween, actually. Like, This is very just like, you need color here. And it's very compact. I actually don't think that the color story is jumbled or like doesn't make sense. I think that this is good. I had a Juvia's Place palette, but I swear to you, like I barely used it. Like I barely touched it. It was the Magic. I'm pretty sure the mattes were good. I'm pretty sure. But the shimmers were just like the standard shimmers, classic formula for shimmers, so it's not my favorite. So yeah, I mean, I think this is cute. This could even be cute for like Day of the Dead. Really colorful. Next category is For the Minimalist at Heart. The ABH Amrezy palette. You know what I want is the Amrezy highlighter. I almost bought it on Poshmark, but then I think I didn't because shipping. I didn't want to pay shipping. The Amrezy palette, I do think that the packaging is cute. I do like the super feminine, you know, packaging. I feel like the shape of this palette though just doesn't process well in my brain because there's more shades in here than usual. Yeah, so the standard ABH palette is 14 shades and this over here is 16, so there's 2 more. And like it really, it's like the original image of ABH palettes is like burned into my brain because I'm looking at this and I'm like, that's not right. You know, this palette doesn't really call to me, but I could see it does serve a purpose. Like it's neutrals with pops of color. So, you know, if you want to like dip your toes, this is the palette for that. Yeah, I think this palette has like mostly shimmers and the mattes are just like your neutrally palettes. So yeah, this is really just like if you want to experiment with color. I feel like the most punchy color is the blue, and then when you take it away, it's really just super basic. And I don't mean that in a basic bitch way, I just mean that in like a these are your basics. It has its purpose. The Bare Minerals Mineralist Sunlit eyeshadow palette. I've never seen this before. $32 and there's 6 shades. Yeah, Bare Minerals is another brand where for one thing I don't own anything from Bare Minerals, but also yeah, I don't know if their formula is good at all. These look like they're all mattes. It's cute for like an everyday palette. I like these tones, but I also they kind of just give off the vibe that they're dusty. Yeah, I'm curious if people like this formula. Yeah, I really don't know what to base this off of. Like it's a cute color story, super again basic. I mean, this is the minimalist category, but you know, I like the green. Glossier Monochrome's Essential Eyeshadow Trio. I just watched Hannah Louise Poston's video. Super thorough review of these monochromes. She basically said if you're going to buy them, you should only use 1 shade at a time, which was interesting because I also saw these on Kate the Great Beauty's channel and she swatched like the shimmer shade and I was like, that's pretty. But Kate the Great also, she's like a very one eyeshadow person and then that's it. She doesn't really like do a whole look. And Hannah Louise Poston, she said that these eyeshadows don't layer on top of each other, which is like frustrating because it's like they're supposed to be made for each other. The finishes do look nice. The finishes of the eyeshadows do look beautiful, but yeah, it just basically just use 1. Only use this as like a one and done thing. The packaging, like the layout of the eyeshadows, it does bother me, but not as much as like other people. And like I do wish that this was just a quad of 4 shimmers. The same colors that they released, just like shimmers in one palette and just like really high impact. That I would buy. I would definitely buy that, especially for $22. I could see why this fits in the minimalist category because you would have to treat these as single shadows. I would rather like be sold if it was just 4 shimmers in a quad. I really like that when it's like a companion palette. Okay, oh, this next category is called For Earth Tones That Pop. I'm intrigued. First, okay, this is okay, this is Juvia's Place The Warrior. It's a neutral palette. When I think of earth tones, I think of green and yellow and just grungy colors. Not I don't really think of neutrals. I mean, sure, you could say dirt, the earth. Okay. Aesthetically pleasing neutral palette, especially with the outer packaging being brown. I guess I'm just like earth tones that pop. I wouldn't say that neutrals pop. They're neutrals. The Chanel Les for Ombres Multi-Effect Quadra Eyeshadow. It sounds so American, I'm sorry. Chanel is another brand that I don't know if their eyeshadows are good. Are they good? These look like, yeah, and these look like a quad of shimmers, so it's just what I was saying. I wish there was this, and the genie's here. Again, I don't know if these would be super impactful. And why do luxury brands love the fucking sponge tip applicator? Like, I feel like we often associate that with drugstore and like cheap, but luxury brands always put it, especially Tom Ford. Yeah, the colors are fine. Again, I just wonder how impactful they are. Because these pictures, they don't show any swatches, they just show the palette, and the article is also not giving descriptions, so I'm raw dogging it here. Ilia, the Necessary Eyeshadow Palette. So you said earth tones. You can't cheat, okay, because you already had the minimalist category, and watch there still be a neutrals category, but this is like, it's just neutrals. And Ilia is like a very, honestly, minimalist brand, like kind of no makeup, clean vibe that I have been intrigued to try. But yeah, I would skip over this palette any day, because it's just like, okay. Earth tones that pop. For a touch of luxury, okay. Interesting. Oh, I already see the word mothership in here. See, because like, yeah, the description is really just about the first palette, which is really odd. Oh, so the mothership palette they chose is Celestial Divinity. Again, this is a palette I didn't hear many good things about. I heard people saying that they were disappointed that the shimmers weren't the normal shimmers, but some people did love this palette as well, and I didn't really like this palette. Like, I don't own it, but Pat McGrath is someone that I lust over, and I just want her to be cruelty free so bad, because her products are so good. But yes, even if she was cruelty free, let's say in a perfect world, I wouldn't have gotten this palette, because it's just like, even though it's cheaper with more shades, but that's because the pan sizes were smaller. There was only like 3 mattes or 2 mattes or something. And so this is like kind of more so a companion palette. But even then, I was just like, this doesn't really, it just doesn't interest me. So it's interesting that, yeah, this is the palette they chose, because Pat McGrath, she got some hits. She got some hits. And this is like the YSL Couture Clutch eyeshadow palette. This palette is interesting because I love the design. The design is very, very cute because it looks like a little purse. I feel like, yeah, this is just neutrals with pretty much a pop of color, the yellow. Again, like, I do this all the time with palettes where it's like, take away the loudest shade and what do you get? Like, is it still good? And yeah, like, oh, it's $120? 120 of my dollars. See, I don't know. And again, I don't know if this is a good formula, so I can't really speak on that. But yeah, it's just kind of bland. Like, really, just the outer packaging is where it's at. The outer packaging is probably what you're paying for, and YSL. But yeah, I kind of just feel nothing. Why does it look like that? So, Valentino Color Flip Multi-Look Eyeshadow Palette. So this looks like there's a broken brush in there. Like, there's like a, oh, I could see, it's like rounded off, but it looks like broken. It's like there's 4 colors, and then I guess you lift it up and then there's 4 more colors. Sure. I mean, you could have just made a bigger component. And then yeah, the colors in general are very, very neutral. The palette's not 28, it's $98. I'm sorry, but like the V on the packaging that Valentino does, it reminds me of a car, like Honda. And now it's just making me think, if car companies sold makeup at this rate, does anything surprise you? I do love the cherry red packaging that they always do, but like, yeah, it's like, I wouldn't. For the all-in-one. Alright, so this says Viseart eyeshadow palette, and basically the picture here is just showing 12 palettes. So basically just saying get any palette. Why do I feel like all these palettes look the same? Except for like the rainbow-y one. I've never tried Viseart. I've heard of Viseart for years, and they are a cruelty-free brand, but yeah, they're just like very expensive. I look at their color stories and I'm just like, there's always something missing. I feel like there's not enough punch, and I really like the way that the palettes open. Like, not these palettes. I feel like, yeah, I remember a complaint of these palettes was that the packaging was really, really cheap. So I think that it's gotten better and you like open it. But yeah, Yeah, Viseart is just a brand that I haven't really even lusted after, even in like the I will have you one day way. I've heard that the formula is really good, but Beauty Bay Brights, which is 42 shades, $10. So yeah, this is like your basic rainbow palette with like every color of the rainbow and then every variation of that color. I could see like somebody wanting this, especially if they're trying to become a makeup artist, to have like every color. They even have grays. I think, yeah, that looks like a gray. So that's cool. Rainbow palettes never have grays, so I like that. So yeah, I feel like this was kind of designed to be in a kit, probably. Obviously this isn't for me. What was this category called? For the all-in-one. See, I actually don't think this is an all-in-one because it's only mattes. So are the Viseart ones. How's that an all-in-one? You need a shimmer. Morphe 35M. Was palette still around? I remember this palette. I remember people using it like 4 years ago. I feel like for a Morphe palette, this is not a bad color story. Actually, it's quite interesting, especially for Morphe. I guess I could see the claim here with it being all in one. If you like these tones, you have to like these tones, which I do. But you know, I would also advise to get a better formula. But I will say I can't think of another palette off the top of my head that has all these colors. Not even just like this many, but just like greens and pinks. Maybe the Kaleidos Flower Punk, which I feel like is satisfying. And it has blues in there too, and there's less shades. They also have the NARS Climax Extreme Effects Eyeshadow Palette. Who works at NARS? Whose idea was it to be like, I love sex, and everyone's gonna know it forever? All in one, sure. If I feel like if these are like the kind of colors you reach for all the time, and there are actually a mix of mattes and shimmers in here, so I guess if you're into it. I really like the outer packaging too. I have never tried NARS eyeshadows because yeah, when they were cruelty free I was buying their stuff. And there are some stuff that I still wish I could get. But their eyeshadow palettes, they haven't really called to me. And this definitely doesn't call to me, but I guess I could see this looks like a good holiday palette for someone. For the perfect smoky eye, Lorac Pro Palette Noir. So this is kind of like cool tones, basically cool tone neutrals. You know what? This is kind of interesting. I have never ever tried Lorac Carol backwards. I'm not mad at this. Like, I know Lorac people have kind of been making fun of them lately because they don't really hit. This is especially for Halloween. I'm sorry, I know when you're gonna see this you're gonna be like, Halloween's over, but like it's October 30th right now. Okay, but yeah, I feel like this is a really good Halloween palette. Or if you just do makeup like that in general, you don't give a fuck what time of year it is, this is kind of interesting. I'm not gonna fucking add it to my cart or anything, but I just feel like this is nice to look at. Nice and dark. Good for holiday even. Oh, the Fancy Snap Shadows. The number 6. I'm assuming they talk about the number 6 because it's the only one that they're showing. I think Fenty changed their eyeshadow formula. That's what I heard because a lot of people didn't like this. The number 5 one looked really cute because it's like pinks. Even like the number 7 one looks nice. But yeah, I just haven't like bought them. But this is a pretty smoky palette, I would say. Especially for holiday. It's not really the kind of color story I reach for. And I feel like the middle shade on the top and the third shade on the bottom look the same. This is for someone else. Well, it's Chanel Les 4 Ombre Multi-Effect Quadra eyeshadow. So this is another one. This is like black and white. The thing is though, this is $62. I don't know if this is still available. I usually rose color pop, but like the Blow and Smoke palette, you could get like the same idea with this. It's just, yeah, I don't know if these are all shimmers. This is basically like, yeah, a black and white palette and some grays. And I like this palette. I like the quality of it. I like the color story. I think it's really cool. I don't need several palettes with this color story because I know that Natasha Denona released her Xenon mini palette, which was just like white, black, and grays, which is a cute idea, but I just felt like I already have it. And this is, you know, not $62. But again, I don't know if it's still available, but even if like you want something small for that purpose, then maybe just look into the Natasha Denona one. Yeah, $25 for 5 shadows is a lot, but it's a lot less than $62 for 4. For precious jewel tones, Huda Beauty Naughty, these aren't jewel tones. These are neutrals. I don't know. I mean, the shimmers are kind of purpley, I guess, and like blue, but I wouldn't say Naughty is a neutral. I wouldn't say Naughty is a jewel tone palette. I would say this is jewel toned. You know, this literally looks like colors of rings that like fortune tellers wear or something. Oh, this is the Arcana palette from Shroud. Even like the Espite Flare, I feel like there are some jewel tones in here. Not all of them. Like the middle row, I wouldn't really say is jewel tones, but like the top and the bottom. I feel like it's more of a neutral palette than a jewel tone palette. Too Faced, That's My Jam? No. I'm not gonna make you sit through the palettes I have that I consider jewel tones again, but like you saw that those were deeper than this. This is more pastel. This is more spring. This is a very spring palette than like jewel tones. What is going on? Milani Gilded Jewel. This literally has the word jewel in it. Yeah, this is the most jewel tones palette that we've seen. You know, this palette kind of confuses me because I think that some of the colors are jewel toned and then some of them are not. Especially looking at these like swatches that are in the picture. It almost looks like there's a couple pastels in here. I guess. For the avant-garde, Pat McGrath Mothership 3. Yeah, I feel like this is a pretty unique color story. It's just very cool tone, very smoky. I feel like any look that you do with this palette is not going to be your standard. I feel like you're just always going to create something where people might look at you and think you are weird. So yeah, I guess I would say avant-garde. Sure. I wouldn't get this palette, but yeah. Byredo 5 Colors eyeshadow palette. I feel like the colors in here, it's like a kind of a random selection of colors, but I guess that's the point. And there's only like 5 in here, so yeah, I feel like for you to put a look together with this palette, it would have to be an interesting look. I can't even tell what that first shade is. It's like a taupe, and then purple, acid green, baby pink, and like a blue. Yeah, I guess you would say that it's pretty avant-garde. For day to night wear, House Lab Stupid Love. I'm having a hard time deciding if this is like, yeah, that makes sense, because sure, yeah, I guess, yeah. I just don't like this palette. I never liked it. It came out last year, I believe, like either BC, before COVID, or early COVID days. That almost does seem like the good old days because people actually cared. And now we just have people that don't want to get vaccinated and are very loud about it because they didn't just say it 5 minutes ago. I deactivated my Facebook for a number of reasons, but people often differentiate day to night looks with daytime being fresh and nighttime being dark and dramatic. So I guess I'm just trying to look for like those deep shades, and I guess there are a couple. I don't know, this just is not the palette that I would think of at all. Despite me not liking it, I just don't really see. Okay. But the NARS Mini Voyageur. Oh my god, am I saying that right? Voyageur eyeshadow palette. This makes sense. It looks like it's all shimmers. Some of them are light and some of them are deep. If you're doing like a one shadow look, or even if just like these are your shimmers for the look, I could see. Yeah, you can use this both for day or for night. The Urban Decay Naked 2 Bake 6. So this isn't the new one, right? Honestly, it looks like the new one. I think that was for the Naked 3. It's time to move on from high school. Like literally, I might have been in high school when that palette came out. Day to night. Honestly, I feel like the shades in here are so light that like even if you were to wear this during the day, do they even show up? Even asking this for myself, as pale as I am, like would this even show up on me? I feel like there's one shadow to really deepen up the look and make it night appropriate. I don't know, I feel like this palette's a little bit too light, and especially with there only being 6 shades. Like this is a really cute layout and you could do a lot with this, but it just looks like light colors. A light color here, a light color there, and then oh, here's one deep color. For those who favor a cult fave, this is the Lorac Pro. Yeah, I don't know. I guess because I never had anything from Lorac, so I've never had their palettes. Honestly, I don't really hear people talk about any of the pro palettes anymore. Like, I feel like a lot of people that were into makeup like 10 or so years ago, they probably have this palette. I feel like, yeah, looking at it today, it doesn't do anything. It's very pale. Most of it is very pale. And I feel like I would just pass it by. Yeah, I feel like to me, because I got into makeup in like the mid 2010s, it doesn't really do anything for me, and I don't really consider it a classic. Urban Decay Naked Reloaded. A cult favorite? Honestly, what? I didn't even know this palette existed. What? What is this? It's not a terrible looking palette, but cult favorite? This is the first time I'm seeing it. When did this come out? Like, I genuinely don't know when it came out. Is there something wrong with me? Like, is it me? I'm just like, how are these cult favorites? Charlotte Tilbury's Starry Eyes to Hypnotize. She does keep releasing her Eyes to Hypnotize palettes and different variations. I guess these are a cult favorite to some people, but I don't think these are really a palette where like everyone has tried this before. Even say like the Naked palettes, not the Naked Reloaded, any of the Naked palettes, I feel like every single one of us has had one, even if we don't have it anymore. And so I don't know if the Eyes to Hypnotize really have that same reputation, especially for the price. Oh, I'm done. That was the last palette of the article. It was 33 palettes that I judged. Well, I hope you guys had fun watching me talk about palettes that Vogue and Vogue's writers seem to love, and I am bitter. I think this goes without saying. I don't know everything about makeup and every brand's archives, so I'm not going to pretend that I know everything. If there are some things that are cult favorites that I'm like, what is this? And you're like, get with the fucking times. I'm sorry. This was just fun. Just fun makeup commentary to do. And it is October 30th for me. So I did my makeup a little dramatic, a little red. How was your Halloween weekend? Tell me all about it. Tell me what you dressed up as. That is it for this video. You guys like my shirt? Uzumaki. Let me know what you thought of this article, of the palettes in the article. Oh, I'm gonna start plugging my Instagram because I'm really bad at that. Follow me on Instagram. It's Gabrielle rizz-uh_. And thank you so much for watching as well. You've been a lovely audience, and I'll talk to you later.